Good morning, Facebook. It's Doug Lane here, Fast Lane Car Care. I got a 2014 Durango. I'm going to show you guys how I prep to install my window tint. Here recently, I've been using the bottom loading technique. I don't know if you can see, I can stick my hands all the way down there because we've taken the seal out, or the sweep, or whatever you want to call it. This just drops down in here like that. I'll show you a little bit more about that later. Most vehicles nowadays, it's super simple to remove these. You don't have to take the whole panel off. It's just a matter of undoing some of these clips. And like you can see, I got a little towel in there just to kind of hold the panel back for me. What I've already done, I've already taken a scrub pad to this window. You know, usually I use a combination of my glass cleaner and my slip solution. One really important thing is get this top edge. You'll see why here in a second. Not too terribly dirty, but especially these laminated glass. Basically, this is 2 layers of glass sandwiched together. They'll trap a lot of dirt and stuff like that up in this little groove. And always gives me like a final destination moment. I feel like I'm gonna slice my finger open. There's gonna be like a little barb or something, but hasn't happened yet, thank God. But anyway, you wanna wipe that top edge off, because when you go to install your film, you'd be surprised at how much crap can come off of this top edge and get into your workspace. And you know, any little speck of dust or whatever is gonna show up as a little gray spot when you're looking at it from the outside. And it's just, you know, not desirable. Look at all that dirt that came out of the seals. So, same deal. I like to do these, you know, like that's pretty clean. I'm not too worried about that. Every car is different. Every window is different. Mileage plays a big role, but it can have low miles. If they live on a dirt road, those are generally going to be pretty dirty. So, you see, I didn't really do anything with this here in the middle. I don't really like to use a microfiber on the glass, because no matter what brand you use, they always seem to leave lint behind. So our slip solution is basically, it's not soap. You can use soap, but I don't. That's a whole nother video. But this is gonna allow us to stick the film on there and slide it where we want it. Then we'll squeegee out the water and then it'll be stuck. Some people worry about the amount of water that we use. I actually don't use much in comparison to other people. But basically, guys, you're down in the door. It's made to get wet. This is, spraying it here is no different than when you're driving in the rain and it's all, you know, it comes out the drains. It's made for that. Water's gonna get past those sweeps. It's not watertight. So really, as long as you're not flooding your switches. Now, there are cars that you can't let this get wet at all. GMs with the fake wood grain, I've got a post that I'll be doing in probably either tomorrow or the next day, which actually is probably going to be up by the time you see this. But the wood grain on those, the leather stitching on a lot of other cars, like your high-end stuff, you don't want to let it get wet because the leather will swell, the stitches will swell, and then it'll be ruined. But your average just plastic, it's not gonna hurt it. We could sit here and spray it with a garden hose. As long as that switch doesn't get soaked, you know, and your speaker doesn't get soaked, it's not a big deal. So, why I did that, I sprayed the sides and the bottom. I want to flush any dirt that we dislodged with our towel. You know, just because it didn't come off on the towel doesn't mean that it's not still hanging out there. So I'm using the pressure and the fluid to just kind of flush that out. You see how the water's going down? Hopefully it's taking the dirt with it. So next I'm gonna show you the bottom loading technique, but first we gotta take our cleaning squeegee, and this is gonna get any kind of lint, any kind of dust, whatever. It's gonna shove it to the side, and I like to wipe the edge off with my hand, because if you use a towel, again, you can get lint on it. And take a corner card, and I want to push anything down and out of the side. Now, what I want to do is go across the bottom real good. I'll go down the side one time. We can see our slip tape's trying to fall off. Just go ahead, and this is basically just a tape. These little hard cards will get nicked up and then they can scratch the film, so you put the slip tape on them so you don't have to sand them every other day. I want to bump this window up. That should be good enough. Now I'm just going to flush the bottom. I don't want to spray into this seal because with this pressure, it could backwash anything back out. Just want to let that flush out of the bottom, and then we're going to do the whole thing. Again, we're not spraying into the seal. I'm going to be like right beside it. And the goal there is just good, even coverage. Now we're going to spray the outside, so that way we're misting any dust or anything that could be floating between us. Because again, this is a giant sticker. Any of that dust or whatever is going to get knocked down. I don't know, you probably can't see it. There's a little piece of dust right there. So then any dust that we flushed over the edge, that's why I just squeegeed the outside. Once I learned that trick, my top edges started coming out way cleaner. And I just want to very carefully peel this liner without touching the glue. Same kind of deal. I don't want to spray too much at the top because I don't want any lingering dust and debris to float down, you know, get washed down through there. So with bottom loading, since we have the sweep out, what we're going to do is we're going to drop our front corner in. See how we're sliding it in place? I could have mixed this up just a little bit more slippery and it would have went a little easier for me, but right here, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I know I don't want to hang out with the adhesive exposed any longer than I have to, but at the same time, I don't want to fight this and wrestle it and end up creasing it or, you know, worse. I can tell you right now, this is going to come out really nice and clean. So if I would have mixed up this solution just a little bit more slippery, it would slide a little bit better into place. But like I said, we want to curl this up under here. We don't want the adhesive to touch anything. If we just bump the edge, it doesn't matter because there's no, you know, there's no glue on the edge essentially. But just want to make sure everything's nice and flat going into our seals. Right there. We're getting a little bit pinched up down here at the bottom, so I'm just going to take my shank. That's all we're going to do is just create a little bit of space. Should be good to go. And this is where the fun part begins. I want to line this top edge up to where it's just underneath that laminate, that edge. But we can't go over the edge because then obviously the film will peel. So it's a balance of just making sure everything's lined up right. I'm really happy with that. That is well beyond international window film standards. So then I'm going to take my clean squeegee again and I'm just going to lightly start moving slip solution to the sides. See this right here? This little trick I learned doing some old school cars. Basically, you're just going to let all that, since I haven't pushed down, it's not trapping anything. So that extra solution is, in theory, if there's any contamination behind, which is what we call dust, trash, whatever, if there's anything left behind, it's going to flush down out of there. Now, obviously, if you got a big old chunk of dirt or something like that, it's not going to matter. It's not going to do that, but it helps. And it costs us nothing, so why not try it, right? Now I'll just go ahead, take my corner tool, just kind of push everything out. Now this is sealed, and this is sealed. So now I don't really have to worry about any contamination getting in there because the edges are sealed. They're not completely locked down. That's where a hard tool is going to come. I don't know if you can see, but I'm pushing a lot of moisture out, and that's what I want. That first pass is just to kind of get it into place and get it to where it's going to hold itself. If you have your solution really slippery, just the weight of the film itself will pull it down the window, and that makes trying to line everything up a real pain. So we'll do it like this. I hope the camera really picks it up. I mean, we don't have but maybe 0.5 millimeter. And so one benefit of doing it kind of slippery is a lot of times, like let's say you moved it while you're squeegeeing or whatever, if it's still slippery, you can just slowly and gently push it where you want. Now what you want to do is the finger check. Hopefully you guys can see that. If I was hanging over the edge, the film would peel back off my fingers. So that's where I wanted it. I bumped it up to within, I don't know, like 0.5 millimeter or something like that. You'd have to get a micrometer out. Like I said, well within spec. So now I'm gonna use like quite a bit of pressure. You can't do this with your architectural films. Architectural adhesive is not made to be squeegeed multiple times. Automotive film, it doesn't matter. So it's kind of weird. They call this bottom loading, but then they call what I used to do, and I still do it once in a while, two-staging. They call it two-staging, but this is also a two-step process, so it's kind of, you know, kind of doesn't really make sense, but whatever. So make sure our edges are locked down. And then what I like to do, to hit a little glass cleaner right here, and you just want to be super gentle when you do this, because you get carried away, you can peel your film. Okay, I want to check my outside. What I'm looking for here is any big moisture bubbles that I may have missed, especially in these corners. And sometimes it's just hard to see stuff when you got, you know, water on the outside of the glass. It's hard to determine if it's, you know, if there's something on the inside or the outside or whatever. So getting this glass cleaned up, I mean, it is a 100,000+ mile car, so there are imperfections in the glass and all that, but this is, you know, like, let's say you see a chunk of something, like maybe it had some glue, or down in the bottom corner, which this is too high up because our window's down, but let's say you had a little bit of adhesive residue from those stupid Sirius XM stickers or whatever. You know, this would be the time we say, you know what, go ahead and peel it off, let's redo it. Everything looks good here. Everything looks good in the corners. Now, two-staging, the biggest problem with that is you'll have like a fold line right around in here typically, and a lot of time it'll, any trash that's in the seal will actually come down into the workspace. So if you really, really look at a tint job really closely, a lot of times you'll see a little dust trail on the corners. Doing it this way avoids that whole mess, typically. You know, sometimes you get unlucky. But then I like to just wipe my panels off real quick. I don't like water sitting on them. You know, I've posted stuff before about using panel protectors, and they work really well, but they are pretty time consuming, and they're not perfect. Got a little bit of moisture right here. I just want to push that up and out. And, oh, we lost power. Timed out. That's what happens when you're talking and not working. All right. We don't need power anymore, so we'll go ahead and turn it off. So as you can see, I just have this little bit left undone. Just give her a little spritz there. And I'll just go over it with my cleaning squeegee one more time. You know, try to get just everything kind of distributed where I want it to go. Durangos aren't hard, man. They're pretty simple, especially if you do them like this. A little bit more difficult if you two-stage them, just because the way this panel kind of dips up and there's not a whole lot of room there. And I don't know if you can see, but this seal isn't actually pushed in like it's supposed to be. You know, it's assembly line car problems. It's not uncommon at all to see little stuff like that, especially on something like this with some miles on it. But I would be willing to bet money it was like that the day it rolled off the line. Now, wherever these stupid ceramic stamps are, I like to, you know, work them a couple times, try to get all the moisture out of them that I possibly can. Now, here's another trick we can do. We can take our corner tool, wrap it up in a paper towel. That's going to keep it from scratching the film, but also it's going to suck up a lot of moisture. And what that will do is, especially on these bottom edges, if you don't get them squeegeed out 100% and get that moisture away from the edge, when you squeegee it out, it actually creates a vacuum and tries to suck it back up. So same thing can happen on the sides. So it's really nice to you know, do that. Take a hard card, which is basically all this is, corner tool, whatever you want, wrapped up in a paper towel. We can do the same thing across the bottom. Push down, boom, okay. Repeat the cleaning process. Mist it with just a little bit of glass cleaner. We don't need to go crazy. I have seen, man, I was really surprised when I went to North Carolina. I saw a lot of guys not cleaning the glass when they were done, which I don't know, it didn't make any sense to me. Why you'd want to present the car with some filthy windows after you just got done tinting them, but I don't know. Maybe they thought it was somebody else's job, I don't know. I cleaned the ones that I could. But that's just that's the thing about any industry, really, right? Like, some people just do things a little bit different. Not necessarily saying it's right or wrong. So then the bad thing is, like, these towels, even though these ones are pretty good, they don't leave a ton of lint. They do leave behind some dust, and then of course you've got dust floating around in the air. So I hate it when I'm doing my reels, my walk around for my videos, and then like you'll see dust on the outside. It looks like it's specks in the tint, but it's not. All right, so I was kind of talking about those stamps. Let me show you something real quick. I don't know if you guys will be able to see. There's two little specks right here, 1, 2. More than likely, it's just moisture that I pushed out of there, and just obviously with that hard squeegee can't get into the seal. So what we'll do is we'll take this is called a chiseler, a little chiseler, whatever you want to call it. They also sell these like a kitchen utensil. And what we're going to do, let's see if I can show you. We're going to get the corner in there, boom. Now this foo-yow, got a little bit of moisture on it, so we'll see if we can't push on it. Yep, we got a little bit of moisture off of it. And all that's gonna do, see if I can shut this and show you a little bit. Now that's pretty much completely black. We got a little bit of moisture stuck right there in the E, but that's why I go over them a few times, because to me they just look tacky when they're just all silver and gross. I mean, there's only so much you can do. Every car is different, but check out how easy this is. Okay, literally drop this back into place. Okay, we're gonna remove our towel, remove our towel, remove our towel. I just use those to create space, just to hold this back a little bit. Click, click, click. Okay, it's locked in. We have one screw. Now, in order to remove this, roll the window down, pull your little panel, this little panel off, and then you're gonna take a panel removal tool, stick it here, boom, boom, done. We got one screw right here behind the door handle. Okay, I use this on too. It's an M12 that's barely overhand tight, and that's all you need on these. You don't have to smoke them to Alabama. They are not, they don't need that much torque. They're just screwed into plastic, so if you put too much torque on them, you're gonna go from righty tighty to righty loosey real quick. All these make and models, they change. Some of them hook in, some of them just, you know, they just clip in. Doesn't matter how you put them in. That's done. We didn't break anything. It doesn't even look like we've been here. If I didn't record it, you'd never know. We got a couple drips. So what I want to do is take this towel. We got a little bit right here. Come back here. Now part of this is because that area is still damp. A lot of times when these dry, they'll be fine. You don't have to wipe them down, but for me, it takes, what's it take, 30 seconds? 30 seconds, we can come back with a dry towel. Now, what I always do, I've got to do a strip on this as well, so what I'll do every time when I'm done with a vehicle is I always go over it and make sure there's no drips, clean the glass the best I can, because like I said, you still want to be gentle. Even though this should be locked down and should be good to go, you still want to be gentle with it. Nothing sucks more than spending all this time on getting a nice job, and then you're cleaning it or whatever, and you peel it and you mess it up, and then you got to redo it. I did a windshield one time on an old Ram truck. I had that thing just as perfect could be. Just chef's kiss, man. Just beautiful. And I had a flashlight so I could see like up in the headliner area and stuff, and I picked it up off the dash, and I just caught it just right, and it actually chipped the tint. Didn't chip the glass, thankfully, but it did chip my tint. And Man, it was a whole windshield and a strip. So then I had to redo all that. It sucked. So, got to be really careful, guys. I mean, I know some people, I see the YouTube videos and stuff, and some guys, man, they'll just come in here and just hose down. They won't lay down a dash towel or anything. To each their own, but I don't know. I've invested the time and the money into having the proper tools and the proper, dash towels and soak ropes and stuff like that. Like if you're doing a full windshield, this gets tucked down into the dash so that any moisture running down the windshield gets absorbed by this. And it, saves you from shorting out body control modules or other electronics. Same deal with the dash towel. I mean, I don't know, guys. To me, it just makes sense. Take the extra steps. I mean, yeah, I got good insurance. I'm not really worried about it, but at the same time, I also don't want to use my insurance. And then, more importantly than that, I really don't want to have to call a customer and be like, hey, I know you dropped off this perfectly fine working car, but yeah, the horn's just sitting here going off and the doors are just locking and unlocking. We must have shorted something out. I just don't want to have that conversation. So I'll take the few extra minutes. I already put this one back together, but my impact was over there. So, tool guys, these locking Milwaukee bit adapter deals, these are where it's at. They lock so good. It's magnetic, but then it also locks. However, I don't really understand how, but I'm guessing it locks on this collet. But you just clip it in there. I can't tell you how many times I lost a bit. Some cars, they'll have a screw way back in there, and then the magnetic tip gets stuck, and then you end up losing it down in the door forever, unless you want to take the door apart, get your $2 bit back. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for right now. Better put my little cover back on. Just want to show you guys how I bottom load. I still do 2-stage. I'm sure none of you care. I will 2-stage a car if it's old, if it's super old and the plastic's brittle and all that. I don't really want to break the tabs. I do keep, this is just one set. I do keep a lot of these little tabs on hand. Most of the manufacturers use, all the Chinese cars, all the Japanese cars use basically the same clips. Rams, GMs are a little bit different, but not really a big deal. So if I do ever happen to break one, or a lot of times if I run across one that's already broken, because let's face it, at 100,000 miles, there's a good chance somebody's already been in here meddling around at some point. So, yeah. I'll just go ahead and replace those as well. Just depends, but yeah, I don't know. Probably rambling at this point, guys, so I'm gonna get this one knocked out and get ready for the next one. Appreciate you for watching. I'll see you on the next video.